Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Send the link out here. And then we will get a rolling, as they say. Okay, there's one. And two. Let's go for three. Hope everybody's having a good night. Had a couple weeks off here. I've been my kid was sick, which was a drag, so lost a lot of work time, so I had to really use that little time I had to get work done. But she's feeling better, but then now my wife is not feeling well, so it's been kind of one of those weeks, you know. But we're doing fine. We're okay. We're gonna live, you know. I got a little bit of a throat thing, but I think I'm all right. All right. Well, this is a little different than a normal live stream. I'm not going to do any drawing tonight. I just wanted to go through here and show everybody the original art for issue 2 of the SCHLUB. Oh, you know what? And I've got issue 3 here. Issue 3 just came out, so please look for it if you haven't already seen it. I am going to grab issue 2, though. Somewhere I have issue 2. Here we go. Let's get no, 3. Here we go. Issue 2. All right, here we go. Thursdays with Tyrell. Yeah, Eli, that's right. So, yeah, issue 2 of the SCHLUB is out in stores. Issue 3 is actually already out, and issue 4 will be out very soon. I think in about a week or two. So, just a warning up front, everything in this will be very spoilery because I'm going to go through every page. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but you're going to see images and stuff that if you're waiting to read it, you might want to read it first. But since it's 2 months out from this one coming out, I think it's safe to go through it now. And I'm excited to show you guys this stuff and get it all here together for me before I put these up for sale soon. So I really wanted to give people a chance to take a peek. So I got issue 2 here for reference, you know, if we want to see some stuff. Oh yeah, before we do that, let me show off a commission I just finished. Big Barda and Mr. Miracle. This one was really fun. I've never drawn either one of these characters before, and Big Barda is very cool. So, and then I didn't post this one yet, but I just finished up this. Oops, that's upside down. Spider Boy drawing. The requester asked for me to do the Spider Boy that has these fangs that they got going on now, and he wanted fire because he says he likes the way I draw fire. So this one was really fun. I just wrapped it up earlier today. Actually, just finished both of these earlier today. So this one will probably get posted a little bit later. But anyway, we're here to see some SCHLUB pages. So I'm going to take you guys through it page by page and just tell you what I think about these pages, what I was working on, working towards. Shouldn't be here super long, but I think it'll be a fun little peek behind the scenes. I like to see this kind of stuff myself. So here is the cover for issue. Does this focus again? Cool. For issue 2, it is the second cover I drew. I drew the covers actually all in order. well, sort of. The Walking Dead variant was done like after I did the issue 5 cover. But this cover is one of my favorite pieces of art from the series. Really, just personally feel really good about this one and really kind of attached to it. I almost don't want to see it go, but I really like this page, this cover. I tried a lot of new things on it that I had been sort of thinking about, and the experience of making it was just really fun. I really felt in the zone, and I love cool shots of villains. I mean, even just conceptually, this one was one of the first ones I thought of when we started the series, because I knew it was going to be a comedy series with lots of comedy in it, but I also knew we were going for emotional stuff and scary stuff and action stuff. And so to have something that was a little bit scarier on the second cover, I thought was something I really wanted to do. Something that was like, okay, there's something scary going on here. It's not all fun and games. And so I thought making Worm come out like this was good. But yeah, a lot more high contrast kind of lighting stuff and more spotted blacks than I had been doing. And so this was a good step forward for me. Really special piece for me. Really proud of that one. All right. Page 1 is an interesting story because this one, before we had, hey Ick, how's it going? Thank you. I'll check in with the chat as I go, even though some folks watching this obviously won't be watching it live. Before, when I was working on issue 2, we hadn't brought, I mean, I knew John was on the project, but we hadn't discussed the trade dress or anything yet. And so I had this idea that the credits were going to be on the first page, or the first or second page of every issue, and maybe have them have like a story name and then our credits of who wrote it and drew it and everything. Because I always liked it when it was on the page back in the day. But then I didn't actually tell anybody that. I just kind of had it in my head when I was drawing these. And so I left this room here for the credits, and we ended up having the credits all on the inside covers. And so kind of matching the dress of the other books in the KLC line. And so I was kind of just like, all right, I got to put a panel in there. So in the final book, you'll see that there is another panel there of another shot of Cirrus inside Roger's body climbing in through this rubble. And I went ahead and threw my little rat buddy in there that I put into a lot of my pages. But I did this replacement panel digitally, actually, and I think it it matches up with my paper style pretty good, considering I did it in like, I don't know, like an hour or something. It was like one of those deals where John was like, okay, what's going on here? Can I get the replacement panel? And we had to have Mike color it too. And so I was like, hey, yeah. So I got it done real quick, and then Mike colored it really quick. So this is a cool instance of the original art looking slightly different than it does in the comic. I started getting a little more comfortable with drawing Cirrus the second time around in the second issue, and again, I'm doing a lot more spotted blacks on this issue than I have in the past, and I was really enjoying that. And then our first splash of the book. They put a lot of splashes and double page spreads in the issues of the SCHLUB for me to draw, which is really cool and awesome, and I love that they gave me so many opportunities. In this one, I think the script said something like, futuristic, or Max Terra crazy futuristic library, big 2-page or big splash page of that. And so I tried to bring in some different influences of like Jack Kirby and but also stuff more like Art Deco, and then stuff that reads as library to everybody, like I think arches and obviously books and railings. And I had this idea that the books could fly around, like maybe they were able to find their homes and get there, and so I had these little books flying around everywhere. I struggled getting these guys to look right to me. Like I remember as I was drawing it not being satisfied with how these guards turned out, but looking at it now, they turned out pretty cool. So, and then I threw a little Easter egg up here. I think it's covered by a word balloon in the comic. I can't remember, but my other comic that I do with my brother Eris, I put yeah, it is covered. See, Eris is a comic I also do. It's my own comic, and I put a little reference to it up there. So. Little stuff that you only see on the original art, and this is why this is why I love to own original art and why I love to look at original art from comics, because you just there's so many things you don't see, especially nowadays when the letters aren't on the page, and so there's all these things that get hidden and covered up sometimes. Um, Pretty cool, I think, to see that kind of stuff. So I like to have that in there too. Sometimes people are telling me, they're like, "Why are you putting all these little Easter eggs? We're gonna have to cover them with balloons here and there." And I'm like, well, one more reason for people to check out the actual original art. I'm happy with this chung sound effect. That turned out good. And I like this drawing of Sirius. I still struggle to say the names right since it's Roger's body, but Sirius is inside of it. Eli, those intricate lines definitely give me Kirby. Yeah, Kirby for sure. He's a big influence. Something I hadn't done very much in this book, and I still, I haven't done a lot of this, but I have in a lot of my older work. I like to do these sort of, this is sort of like a thought balloon, or like not even a thought balloon, it's like a story flashback kind of a balloon. And I think it's fun to do these kind of shapes. It's the kind of thing that, there's X amount of time you have. Like, for me, there's X amount of time I have when I'm working on a page. And so I have to kind of weigh what are the kind of things I want to do. And coming up with cool illustrated panel borders is fun, and I like to do it, but sometimes I'm really focused more on drawing a building right or a character right, and so I take that out of the equation. If I had all the time in the world, I'd probably do it more. I was pretty happy with how the librarian turned out. I think I got her, I felt good about her when I drew her, and then, because I think they said to make her just kind of like a interesting, cool looking librarian person, older lady. And so I drew it, and I felt pretty good about it, but then I sent it to Stegman and Kenny Porter, and they were like, Stegman said something like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome. I love the library lady," and like they both thought she was perfect. So that made me feel pretty good. And you're getting more looks at Max Terra here. I think a lot of people are interested in Max Terra, and you are going to see some more of it after issue 2. So this was fun to sort of build out some of those worlds. And then the fun thing about the SCHLUB is that that's always contrasted with sort of more real world stuff. So here Roger in Sirius's body is visiting his brother's house, who he's kind of he's kind of, the brother is more the favorite of the family, and he's got a chip on his shoulder about that. So he's going to go wreck his boat. This page, it's funny because like something like drawing that library is intimidating in some ways, but it's like there's a lot of freedom in it too, because there's no frame of reference. You're making it all up. But when I have to draw things like a house and a boat and a dock, I get like a little more like, okay, because it's easier to also to kind of play to your strengths and your style when you're coming up with environments. But when you're trying to make it feel real world, it's a balance, and I am always trying to find that right balance. So for the house, I did use a reference photo of a house. I looked up like hipster annoying house or something like that, and then from the photo, I was able to sort of change some things. Like I think I took out a section of the house and added some trees and changed the bushes in the front and put it by the dock, And so no matter how good your reference photo is, a lot of the times you got to sort of figure out what you want to do with it. But yeah, I wasn't about to design a house, like if I had all the time in the world, sure. But I'm like, nah, I got to find a house that looks right. Checking with the chat here. Kevin Andrews. Oh, cool. You like that library part. That's cool, man. Yes, being immersed in that world. And like with a comic, you can zoom in on any part of the world. It doesn't whiz by like in other mediums, It's like you can just sit there and just take in everything about like Max Terra in that example. But the thing I do like about this page that started a few things that continue on through the series for me is that line doesn't connect, does it? One thing is that even though this is kind of like, I don't know, not a boring page, but a page that is not like a big action page, it's really important to me to have a flow to the pages. And so you want the reader's eyes to kind of move through the page. And I feel like this one has a really good sense of that. that zigzag that I really love. The other thing that I started trying on this page was these. I think it was this page. Is the first time I did it. Is this little sort of like a photo booth photo thing that I can do in the middle, where I'll connect the panels with no borders and kind of creates like a sub moment within the context of the rest of the page. At least that's what I'm thinking about. Like that's my intent. So this thing reads as kind of its own little tiny story within the context of the bigger story. And as you'll see in some of the future issues, this might be subtle, but I think people might be interested. I kind of start thickening up the borders on those little insert stories to kind of make them, again, feel a little bit more separate. Drawing the expressions on Roger's face have always been really fun and different. Like usually you get these chiseled figures in comics and they don't express or emote very much. It's a lot easier for people to imagine a character like Roger's body, Sirius and Roger's body, to have those because it's a cartoon look. But I was really wanted to try to find expressions on him as well in a superhero body. Page 5. Again, this is kind of like a thing you dread drawing sometimes when you when you are a superhero artist, because you want these scenes to feel real and you want them to feel important, but they can't rely on the same things that you do in, say, a fight scene. And so I try to build character acting into their body postures and stuff. I don't want to just have a model that I trace that's kind of just standing still. If I can give them some expression, some motion maybe in what they're doing, like even just a little tilt to the glass here, or the way she's kind of leaning on the counter. And then I tried to make some more depth by putting this fly up here on the glass that they're in front of, like their porch glass. Oh, here's the thing. My brother picked up on or asked about this. In the back, there's a poster in the final comic. Forgot about that. So there's a poster right here, and it's my brother's like, "What is that poster?" And it's Les Mis, the Les Miserables poster. I didn't want to draw it, but that's what I wanted there. I was like, he's got to have that poster up, because it's like the worst. It's the worst poster to have up in your house because nobody actually loves Les Miserables. It's just like a thing you buy at a store that comes in the frame. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, I'm going to stick that in there. So that was done digitally. Occasionally I will use a trick like that. So yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. The beats here are good. The inserts I'm happy with. Sometimes these are the pages. These are the pages where you get to know the characters, and like to see Roger reacting to what they're saying. Like these are the kind of pages that maybe aren't as sexy to people when they're thinking about having original art, but they're things that really do contribute to your overall understanding of the story. They're very, you get to see what Roger's kind of, this is his first time out in the body, and like how's he dealing with this, and that stuff's fun to draw too. So the boat's sinking. The only thing scary to drawing a boat is one sinking. So I hope I pulled it off. I hope it looks good. I went pretty goofy with the glug glugs. That was fun. I like to do these little double things in the panels where there's like two faces while they're looking around, or two fists as they're swinging. Some of this stuff got a little that works. Always trying to find more efficient ways to draw things like water and trees. I'm like getting there, I think. Couple jokes here. There was the Tooth Fairy. That was in the script. They said the boat was named the Tooth Fairy. And I thought that was funny. But the joke that wasn't in the script that I added was that, so he's a dentist, Roger's a dentist, his brother's a dentist, his dad's a dentist. So he has a apron that says Grill Master. And to me that was very funny because, your teeth, your grill. He was grilling some steaks, Grill Master. That's my humor. All right. Page 6. Yeah, that one was fun too. Water's fun to draw, but difficult. This is another page that for me is like pretty special and pretty important. It's another page that I feel really positive about what I was able to accomplish with it. And I was able to sort of build another world, this necro dimension, and that's always fun to build a new kind of world. And Kenny and Stegman, I think in the script said, this is, I've talked about this before, but this was the page where they sent me the script and it says there's a giant castle on the top of a dead turtle in like a necro dimension. I was like, all right, you guys teasing me? Like, do you really think I can do that? And they were like, yeah, of course. And so, and I feel pretty good about how it turned out. Again, these nice shapes and kind of the way we had some cross hatching in there, which I haven't done a lot in this book. And then again with the solid blacks, I'm really, this is like one of my favorite drawings. These two are some of my favorite drawings in the whole issue. And the way Mike colored this panel is just, oh my gosh. It's so good. Here we go. That's just, man, it's good. It's so perfect the way he colored this. He's been great to work with. Yes, it screams heavy metal. There you go, Kevin. Definitely. Nice Eli, deep joke. I like it. But yeah, I like these two panels in particular, and this one, of course, just feel like I was able to accomplish everything I wanted to. And part of it is that on this issue, I did have quite a decent amount of time to work on it. I still turned it out in probably 5 weeks or something, but I didn't rush it, which was fun. And then again, just to be able to, then they were like, okay, then the turtle comes to life. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? So pretty cool. It's fun to draw big monsters, and it's cool because I've been able to draw these sort of dark warrior monsters, and then this giant tortoise turtle, snapping turtle kind of thing. I like, so what I was thinking of when they were talking about these monsters coming out and everything was, man, I really like how he did the tentacles here too. That was on something when I was doing this issue, man. It really was working. Anyway, he sort of like does like dark magic is what Worm uses, and I thought, okay, these creatures and soldiers from like the necro dimension, maybe he's able to sort of, summon them, and they sort of come out of the ground, but they're, it's not like the ground would go back to how it was after they appear, So he's sort of bringing them up magically. So I like that sort of underlit feeling to it. And yeah, man, it's a nice page. That's another one I'm pretty happy with. All right. Page 9. I think, thanks, guys. Thank you, Eli, Marcus. Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. This is another one in the script. They said it was Roger would be sitting there just surrounded by junk food. And for someone like me and my silly Easter egg jokes, this was a fun page. Some of this stuff got covered up, but a lot of it didn't. My mouse makes an appearance up there again. I'm really happy with his running up the stairs. That was fun. But yeah, again, high contrast stuff, but I try to come up with different names. I got Stegos here, Ryan Stegos. Picnics, I don't know if you guys like picnics. That's a real snack, and they spell them different. Toffee cakes, Chocos. Snore Loco is what I was calling that one. So cheese nuts, porter puffs, crunch nugs. What is this? Jerky. Yeah. So yeah, this page turned out alright too. I'm still figuring out, I'm getting more comfortable with the Roger body, but this is the issue in this sequence where I really started getting more exaggerated with Cirrus. So this is another flashback scene. We see some more Max Terra. This was I wanted it to feel contrast quite a bit from what we had going on here. And so I went ahead and just did the whole thing full bleed and made it just black whenever there wasn't panels, so there's no borders and stuff, so it really reads as its own thing when we go to that flashback. And you sort of get some of the history of the object that they're all kind of going after here and where it comes from. So this is another appearance of Cirrus's kind of where he comes from in Max Terra, and how they sort of got to where they are now. I'm really stoked on this. That's another one that Mike colored really well for page 10. He really sold that. I was like, I think all I told him was like, can you really sell this, like the hotness of this, of this thing getting hit here? And he did. And then here we get into one of the things that I really thought was funny when they sent me the script, and that's that they wanted me to have Sirius riding on Roger's back, like a horse, like with a jockey. So I thought that was hilarious. Man, that's, yeah. So, you have this indoor moment, and then I was able to do my onomatopoeia here myself, which I always like to do when I have the time. I was really pushing myself starting here, and it kind of carries over as the more issues go on with the series to try to simplify things. And so for the buildings on this whole page, I really was looking for ways I wouldn't even call them shortcuts, but ways to be efficient with how I create the buildings. And so they're really just an outline with like a fat sort of dry brush pen pulling lines down, and then I added some little like dots with a whiteout. So, and then here, same thing. Instead of drawing every brick and everything, which I tend to do, I let things fade in and out. The different shapes and values to fade in and out, and then the color can kind of sell that. And then down here I use the other trick that I'll do sometimes where the building lines coincide with the speed lines on the page, and so you get that little bit of wiggle. And so that was just done, I think, with like a calligraphy pen, just like that. So that turned out funny to me, but also cool. I like what I like that I did here was the expression on his face versus the expression on his face. He's like serious and determined, and he's like thrilled and out of his depth. That was pretty fun. All right, and now we have a 2-page spread. So they gave me, again, a lot of these, which is always fun to dig into a 2-page spread. Yeah, Kevin, I love it when a page is full bleed on the original art. It's really fun to see just every inch of the paper taken up. Another thing I'll mention here, just because you can probably see it a little bit, is I do have blue lines of my thumbnails on here. It's just the most efficient way for me to work. So you can see you can actually, if you're curious where I start penciling and inking from, you can see it on a lot of the pages. You can see the blue lines, which I had done on the iPad. So here, a lot of it is like just the perspective lines to get the buildings, and a rough idea of where maybe a window will be, but sometimes it's not even that. It's just the perspective lines, and I figure all that out when I get to the paper. So this was another one where I read it, and they're saying a blimp is robbing a bank and pulling the safe out the window. I was like, man, that's nuts. That's so crazy, but how can I make this work? How can I pull this off? And that's the best kind of comics, in my opinion. So, excuse me, everybody. I wanted it to be that moment when it's getting pulled out that we cut to. Drawing a blimp, not as easy as I thought it would be, but I think I pulled it off. I took some creative liberties. This is the first appearance of our henchman, and I've maybe alluded to this, and people who have seen issue 3 might know this, but these 3 are some of my favorite 3 characters in the whole comic, these 3 goons, and this is their first appearance. So they are henchmen here with Smorgasbord, and Smorgasbord has this button on his chest and this symbol. And the symbol is supposed to represent whatever, like his whole thing is that his suit can give him different powers, and that it lights up on the front with the powers. So here he's using a muscle power, so it's like a flexing arm. And then down here he's using binoculars power, so it's an eyeball. And the idea was going to be, and I don't know, it was me or Kenny, it might have been Kenny, that said he'd have a button on his chest and he would push the button to change his powers. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, I like that. But then that's sort of a hard thing to sell in a comic. If it only happened once or twice and we had a lot of room, you could sort of do those inserts every time. But, you can see here he changes from one to another kind of between panels. And so I was like, well, I'll keep the button there, and maybe if he's if I'm able to show it at a later date, I could show it, is was sort of what I was thinking. But yeah, this one was really fun. And again, I'm happy with the kind of contrast I've been adding to the pages here. It's been, like I said, a goal. I think my favorite thing on this page, other than the goons showing up, is this drawing of Smorgasbord here doing the binoculars with his hands. It cracks me up every time. And I believe that was in the script. I think they said he puts his hands up like he's looking through binoculars. So we get a taste here of what happens when Roger is in a superhero body. He really does not know what he's doing. So he just demolishes this balloon. And just the safe drops and it could be hurting people and, you know, all this stuff. And it's pretty fun because the chaos is not just another piece in a part of a big battle between a bunch of superheroes. It's, you know, telling you what kind of character he is by the way he's behaving in this body, and it's telling you about kind of like what the real repercussions are of someone with powers that can't control them right or can't use them right. I'm really pleased with how this came right here. This explosion, that was really fun to draw. That was like a fun panel. It didn't feel stressful. And I like Smorgasbord's face here too, and I like Sirius's face. I'm not sure if I sold this right, but like this was supposed to be the safe falling into a fountain, and like a fountain with maybe a statue on it exploding. Mike did a pretty good job of selling it, but it's pretty vague. I maybe could have done that better. But I am really happy with the drawing itself and the impact of it. But you know. All right, and then they said that in this one the script said something like, you know, Sirius keeps drinking more and more coffee, and one thing I did was that every time he has a cup in his hand, it's got a different name on it, and so this cup says Dodger, and then I'll read the other ones when they come through. But he's at Buzz Barn Coffee. There's a poetry night later if anyone's interested. But in the script, it said he hops away with like a bunny. I say, all right, we'll do that. I like how this fire and explosion back here looks, and Mike did a color hold on it, I think, that just really, yeah, see? So you can see that the color here is the actual line work. That's called a color hold, and I love them. I mean, you know, in the right situations. But you can see how when I draw some of the things like smoke and stuff, Mike colors over the line art to give it that, you know, color, and it kind of helps pop things forward and backward. It helps effects read a little bit better. And usually when I'm drawing things like the smoke and the fire, I'm actually imagining that it will be a color hold. So when that works out, I think it works well. Kevin Andrews, crazy script, yeah. Fun and rewarding, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like so stoked to have been working with Kenny and Ryan this whole time, because they are very collaborative and open to my ideas, and that's been really, really fun. This issue, to me, looking at this issue now after just finishing issue 6 the other day, there's a lot of cool, clean line art in this one, where I really let the brush do a lot of work. That's something that I like to see, and it looks pretty good on this one. For some reason, it's reading to me really well. All right. 16 here, we get a big explosion as this balloon crashes into the ground. And again, I just wanted to show the insanity of something like this happening. You know, there's people running away, getting blown up, cars flipping over, glass everywhere, people on fire. Like, because the joke is, or, you know, like the joke, but also the story beat is Roger thinks he's doing awesome. He's like, awesome, I crashed the balloon, awesome, I caught the bad guy. But he's like not realizing all the damage he's causing, which is pretty funny. So here's another instance in my comics of civilians, the guy hiding behind the girl. So these two are trying to run away. Smorgasbord gets him with a gun arm, which I was pretty stoked on how that gun arm turned out too. I like that. And I actually was pretty happy with how these cars turned out. Getting a little more unique with my cars was a goal in this issue. But anyway, he hides behind his girlfriend here. And the little icon is a gun, because his hand is a gun with a big old hammer cocking there. And here we are back to Roger, and he has a codger cup in this one. But yeah, so Sirius here. Roger charges through, knocks these people over, big explosion, glass flying everywhere. This one was fun. It was sort of reminiscent of some stuff I had tried to do on Beef Bros, a book I did recently with Aubrey Sitterson. Well, I say recently, I guess it's been a year now, 2 years now. But these kind of effects showing almost the atmosphere and the energy spreading out and creating depth. Let's see what Mike did with that. It's really fun to kind of, yeah, see, so again, color holds to really help that pop. And then, of course, John doing his lettering thing right there. So it's a team sport. But this one was cool. All this detail in the glass and everything, all this destruction. And you start to see Sirius get the jitters here. He's not used to the coffee. All right, page 18. Got 3 more pages here. Again, Roger looks around. He's like, great, I did an awesome job. And everyone's just freaking out about this, you know. Over here it says Lodger instead of Roger on this cup. So the bad guys show up, and I always liked, you'll see as the series, I love drawing these little goobers, these little creatures, you know, and all these canisters and stuff. And then Sirius here, he's really jittering. I'm happy with how that turned out. They wanted him to be sort of just like losing it, you know, sweating and froth on there. Yeah, these pages are just very clean for me. I'm not sure what I did to achieve that, but it was a cool phase to be in. But anyway, his jitteriness is funny. And then the last cup here says Todd. Because it's not even close to Roger, which is funny to me. But also, whenever I go to get coffee, especially at some place like Starbucks, what's your name? I say Ty, T-Y, because I want to keep it simple. It almost always comes back to me saying Todd. So, as a former barista, I have very little patience for that. All right, page 19. Again, this contrast, I really am into the idea with superheroes of this contrast between the superheroes and the real people. I think a lot of times you see a lot of artists, the only difference between them is the clothes they're wearing. You know, the people look, and I'm being general here, but like if I'm reading a comic that's a superhero comic and the people look exactly like the superheroes just with different clothes, that doesn't do it for me. I think they've got to look bigger and stronger and huger and just insane to people. They have to look intimidating. I don't do a lot of this. I used to, but I haven't done a lot of this on this book. But I kind of always like the single line hatch, sort of a woodcut style. One of my older books I did a long time ago called Victus, I used this technique almost exclusively for the shadow and stuff in it. But I'm really stoked on this panel. This is probably my favorite panel on this page, because I just like the intimidation. I like how the expression turned out. I like the angle. It's seems like a throwaway panel, but it's really a fun one for me. And then on our last page, we have a splash introducing the Vigilant, our sort of Justice League-ish analog, or Avengers analog in the book. You know, a team, a superhero team. They're not exactly any of those characters, but you know, they're analogs so that we can play in that sandbox a little bit. So we have sort of the Golden Knight is what we call him here, kind of a, you know, Batman-ish kind of guy, maybe Midnighter kind of guy. The Wraith with her lasso, but it's actually a whip. And then we got to have a fast guy. This page was really fun to draw, but also intimidating because you're introducing new characters, but it's also a moment in the story, so you got to find that. And that happens a lot in comics, but it's like, you know, that is one of the more challenging things, is that balance between, okay, we got to show who these characters are, but we also want to show how the issue's ending with destruction, and you want to see your expression on Roger's face. But yeah, this one was another one that I might have done it a couple times, actually. I remember starting this one and not liking the results, and I can't remember if I saved it on paper or if I redid it. I was really stoked on how the fire turned out back here, too. So that is the original art for the SCHLUB issue 2. I plan to do this for every issue as they come out, but I am just giving a little bit of time so that if people are, I'll give you a preview of these as I'm talking here. You know, I want to give them at least a month or two to breathe before I come on and talk about them, so that I'm not ruining the story for anybody and people that have had time to read them. Because if you're like me, you get your comics, I don't know, a month after they come out, and then they sit on your shelf for a couple days, and then you start one, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, you finally read them all, just because life is busy. But I figure after 2 months, it should be safe. But yeah, I really appreciate folks for tuning in to watch this, whether you're watching it live or later. These pages will be up for sale soonish. Newsletter subscribers will find out about the art drops first. So if you head over to TyroCannon.com, you can sign up for the newsletter. But yes, original art is always up for sale on their website if it's available. The first issue has a few pages left on there. There's also some pages from my older comics on there and some of my Inktober drawings. I did an X-Men themed Inktober drawing recently, like a whole month of those. So I hope that you will visit that as well and check it out. The SCHLUB number 3 will be the next one I'll go through. I'll probably do that on one of my Tuesday live streams. We'll see. I might do another Thursday one for that. And then I will also hopefully get back to doing my Tuesday drawings here soon, now that the family is seeming to be on the mend. But that is the SCHLUB issue 2. Thank you, everybody. Here's the cover. I just saw Kevin Andrews asking about that. One of my favorite pieces of work from the series. Really, really a fun one. But yes, thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you will continue to read the SCHLUB, and if you haven't told someone else about it, please go tell them about it. They might enjoy it. I think we're building a pretty special story, and I think a lot of folks will be able to connect with it. So enjoy the rest of your evenings, and I will talk to you guys hopefully next week. Read